Joining me now are two people who took part in Monday's Black Voices on the Hill event. Len Carby is with the Federation of Black Canadians, and Peter Flegel is with the Michaëlle Jean Foundation. He's Director of Programming and Development. Both of you, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I guess the first question is, I have to sort of put your minds back to Monday. Just flesh out a bit more for us. What kind of an event was it? Like, put it in context. The event on Monday was a very special one, and yet this happened at it. Whoever wants to describe the context.
Right. So the Black Voices on the Hill is a collaboration of various organizations from across the country that uses this opportunity to have direct engagement and dialogue with our ministers of government. So there were 8 meetings scheduled with different ministers. We were intentional to have young people participate in it so that they could see how the government works and have direct dialogue with
and you had people from all over the country who were there. And they were all in this one building, the Confederation Building.
Yes.
Now, we've played a clip of 3 of the people who were there for the incident in question, and we got a bit of their reaction. What do you hear? What did you hear after that incident happened? Whoever spoke to the people involved in the incident, what kind of reactions and how did that percolate among the people who were up on the Hill for Black Voices?
Right, and I think perhaps I could go back to the context to answer the question. I think 2 days before, the Michaëlle Jean Foundation with the Federation and other organizations had gathered over 500 Black Canadians to the National Capital for the National Black Canadian Summit. So the purpose was to develop the asks that would then be presented on the day on the Hill to the cabinet ministers. And so we had made a concerted effort to ensure that young people, young leaders for some of the most, disadvantaged neighborhoods across Canada would have that opportunity to not only share their concerns, but make concrete and tangible asks for delivery from the federal government. And so, having had the opportunity to speak directly with some of the people that were victimized by the incident, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of hurt, there's a sense that they don't belong in that space, that the space, which is essentially the house of the people, Parliament is the house of the people, they don't belong.
From what I understand of the incident, there was something happening in the cafeteria. You were waiting in hallways and cafeterias between meetings. There were some people in the cafeteria. For some reason, someone had complained about activities in the cafeteria. The complaint went to the Parliamentary Protection Service, and then someone approached other people, not the people who are the object of the complaint. Do you know what the complaint was about?
So there's currently, as you probably have heard, there's an investigation ongoing about the incident. So we have, faith in the process and trust that it will come to vindicate essentially the words of those that were victimized by the situation. But I think for young people that came to the spaces to talk specifically about issues such as anti-Black racism, racial profiling, the need to invest more massively in underprivileged communities across the country to get the words of to be essentially discriminated against or to be labeled or tarred with the dark-skinned troublemaker brush really was counterproductive and demonstrated that even at the highest levels of our society, challenges around anti-Black racism and racial profiling remain.
I guess that was the question then. What is it that's the most egregious or the most offensive for you? Is it the collective term, you're all black, you're all dark-skinned, I think was the expression used, or was it the lumping people together and immediately identifying because you're identifiable of being dark complexion, so you've got to be part of the complaint or part of the incident?
Well, I think it's a combination of all those factors. It's an encounter of those factors which were essentially very hurtful, very discriminatory for those that were allegedly victimized by the incident. So what we've been trying to do is to demonstrate that young people have their place in the democratic spaces, that they have a role to play, that they can define the future of the country.
Okay, Len, this was taken up on Wednesday. Yes. 2 MPs stood, and one MP specifically raised it as an issue, as a point of privilege in the House of Commons on Wednesday. The Speaker has been apprised of the issue, and the Parliamentary Protection Service has been apprised of the issue, and they've launched their own inquiry and investigation. What do you make of the response, Len?
Well, we welcome the attention that has been brought to this matter, and clearly it gives us hope that there is some level of process and people within our community can feel that they are heard. But I think our young people across the country who were specifically victimized in this way because of this issue, and there was hurt in it. We as an organization, the Federation of Black Canadians, certainly want to stand with them and let them know that they have a place, that their voices were heard, and that we will follow up with the appropriate individuals who are doing this investigation to ensure that whatever the outcome is, that will also be communicated back to them. Very often our young people don't feel that these spaces are safe spaces for them, and and we want to assure them that's there, which is why we stand shoulder to shoulder with them on it.
I want to do one thing, though, and as we mentioned, the Parliamentary Protection Services, which is the security agency on the Hill, has already issued a preliminary statement. I just want to read it to you and see what it means to you, your reaction. But the statement says, we offer our apologies to the participants for the situation they experienced on Monday. The Parliamentary Protective Service has zero tolerance for any type of discrimination. We took immediate action upon learning of this incident. We launched an internal investigation into the matter. Once the investigation is completed, we will be advising the Speaker of the House of Commons, and the Speakers of the Senate accordingly. What do you make of that statement?
Well, I think first what's important to highlight is that we're not only two organizations, we're part of a coalition of over 17 organizations from across the country that have committed to backing the young people who are victimized by the situation. And I think what the young people have said to us is that they're pleased that this is a first step, that there's an acknowledgement that there was an issue, that there was an incident that was problematic. But they want more, and what they've made clear is that they'd like to meet directly with the Prime Minister of Canada to talk not specifically about the incident, but how it's kind of grounded in a broader, more comprehensive challenge that the entire nation is facing, that the Prime Minister has to provide more tangible and lasting solutions to those issues.
Does this put a pall over the whole event? I'm just wondering, does it, or is it a learning experience for everyone involved?
I think it's a real learning experience. I think there was so much positive that came out of the weekend, whether it was with the summit, in fact, where young people felt energized and engaged to participate on the Black Voices on the Hill on the Monday, which also allowed us to meet with at least 8 different ministers of government, and they heard and were very responsive to our meetings and our asks to them. So we felt the entire weekend was tremendously positive. And so our attempts to talk about this is not about the incident. It's really about the bigger issue that faces us as a nation. And it forces us to take a look at ourselves and to, understand the importance of this issue of, marginalization, of anti-Black racism, and the profiling that sometimes happen that affect our young people, and especially because it happened on Black History Month and in a place where they should have felt safe to be able to have these conversations, I think brings us to this point of self-introspection that I think is needed.
Last question, is the concrete result, we're not going to presume the results of the inquiry, but is one of the most likely things a sort of an education program for some of those security guards up on the Hill?
Well, I think what the young people are asking for is not only kind of what we call a sensitivity training program, but more broadly, more comprehensive government-wide strategies, whether it's programming, funding, or legislation, to address some of the real critical issues that Black Canadians are facing in their communities, and that the young people have articulated through their asks.
Okay, I want to thank both of you for coming in. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you so much for having us.